I'm Dr. Marie Fang. Welcome to this video series on the story of Job. We're going to follow the book of Job in little bits at a time and find what there might be to learn in these bits. But the sort of overarching theme of Job is that Job is a good man that has a series of terrible things happen to him. Job is one of my favorite books of the Bible, and so I thought it might be helpful to start off this video by explaining a little bit why I love this book so much, and in order to explain, it's necessary to tell a little bit of my personal story. So we'll sort of take you back with me if you don't mind joining me on this story. A key piece of my story is that I have an autoimmune disease. And I still have this autoimmune disease, but I am managing it well. Before I discovered that I had an autoimmune disease, I lived in what I would call a very intense amount of suffering. I was 19 years old when I was diagnosed, so up until that point, my life was characterized by intense pain, by significant digestive issues. I experienced severe weight loss, malabsorption symptoms. By the time I was about 17 or so, I went through a series of a couple of months when I lost 25 pounds in 2 months. I was eating 3,000 calories a day, but it wasn't sticking. It wasn't absorbing into my system. So I was also suffering from signs of malabsorption. So I would pass out frequently if I stood up too quickly, or for some season of time, if I stood up at all, I would pass out and I wouldn't be able to feel my extremities, like in my fingers. Sometimes they were tingly or numb. So I was really operating on minimum physical control, physical capacity. And I lived with about 10 out of 10 pain for most of the day, every day. It was an incredibly painful time in my life, and not only was I experiencing suffering that I didn't know how to make sense of it, why is this happening to me, but inevitably, doctor after doctor, specialist after specialist was telling me they just couldn't find anything wrong with me. So I was being told by physicians that I was making this up. I'm not actually experiencing pain. I must not actually be eating 3,000 calories a day. Maybe I'm suffering from an eating disorder. I had teachers pull me aside to tell me about eating disorders and encourage me to see a therapist, which is a valid thing to do. But in my situation, that wasn't what was happening for me. I was really sick. So when I discovered Job in high school, I was so grateful, because here is this man that, from what the Bible tells us, was doing everything right, and pretty much everything you can imagine horrible happening to someone happened to Job. And he lived through suffering, and not only did he suffer and ask some of these same questions, like, why is this happening to me? But he also had friends who care about him, and his wife, who cares about him, question him, like, hey, did you do something wrong here? And I appreciated that, because that was part of my reality. People didn't believe me. People thought I must be doing something wrong. So when I found Job, I really found a comrade. This idea that here is somebody else in the world who understands what it means to experience suffering and it not make any sense, right? That you could be a good person and bad things happen to you. So that's a little piece of my story, and I'm gonna walk together with you, if you'll join me, through some parts of Job's story as we get to know Job and his suffering and see what comes of that. So I invite you to join me, and I hope you enjoy this series. I'll see you in the next video.